What's up, marvelous legends? It is a profound pleasure to be with you all today. Thank you for presenting me with the present of being in your presence. I just wanted to make a laid back, relaxing, chill stream. So, anybody who joins me now, live or later, I'm just grateful to have each and every one of you here. Feel free to put any comments in the live stream and I'll respond to those. I'll prioritize those. In my first stream, we did have a few comments and we reached a decent number of people. So that was really exciting for me. I'm just trying to get better at live streaming. I'm going to be doing this a lot more in 2026. I did my first live stream the other day, and I think it's sitting at around just under 60 views or so. So people are watching like the VOD recording in addition to the people who watched it live. So I'm going to be talking about a myriad of topics today. There's really nothing that's off limits. Hey Charlie, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. How are you feeling? Hope that you're doing well. Happy holidays and all that jazz. I'm still kind of new to this, so if I miss a comment, I apologize. I'm trying to build a habit of looking in the direction where the comments show up, but also looking at my camera screen so that it creates the impression that I'm making eye contact, right? It always feels weird looking at a camera, but I do my best, and that's all I can do. And I'm sure I'll get better in due time. And at a future period, I'll be an expert, but we're not there yet. But Charlie, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for anyone joining in. I brought some water with me just to stay on my game, stay hydrated. That's always very important. I read that a lot of people don't drink enough water, and I would definitely count myself in that category. I don't drink nearly as much as I should, and it's an excellent way of staying full. And our bodies are made of a lot of water. So, and water is life, right? This planet is made mostly of water. And on that note, I'll mention an interesting fact about me that you may not know. I cannot swim. I'm 27 years old and I still don't know how to swim. Granted, I haven't exactly applied myself and been diligent in trying to learn how to do it, but I do think it's quite interesting. And I do regret the fact that I don't know how to do this at this age. I feel like people learn it at a much younger age, but it is what it is. I know that I'll learn it someday. It's not going to be today. I don't believe it's going to be tomorrow. It's very cold out here and there's ice everywhere. And I do not want to go to Lake Chagagagog, Man Chagagog, Chabunagungamog under these conditions. And yes, that is an actual lake name. My town has a 14-syllable lake name, and it actually does stand for something. It's Nipmuc Indian. So I'll say the name one more time for those just joining in. It's Lake Chagagagog, Man Chagagog, Chabunagungamog. That is 14 syllables long. And I used to say it all the time when I was a show announcer at a concert venue. And the crowd would just go like absolutely crazy, like they couldn't believe it. But it's not as impressive as it seems. I actually learned how to do that when I was in elementary school. It was a requirement for all of us to learn it. Not everyone necessarily succeeded. Some of us were left behind. Now, we all advanced on, but I would say the bulk of us were able to actually learn it. So what does it stand for? It actually stands for you fish on your side, I fish on my side, nobody fishes in the middle. And this is a saying from like colonial times that the Nipmuc Indians and colonists devised because they were overfishing Webster Lake or Lake Chagagagog, Man Chagagog, Chabunagungamog. So that's just a little bit of interesting history as to the name and origins of the name. Got another comment here by Swink Swank. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I think I might have BPD similar to you. Never manic, but my highs and lows are very high and low. Yeah, that is one of the, I'll preface this with saying I'm not a medical expert, but I've done quite some extensive reading about bipolar just because, well, I have the condition and I think it's important to try and learn as much as possible about it so that I could try to, mitigate the effects it has. But that is a chief characteristic of bipolar disorder is having those extremes. of high and low. For those of you who watch my channel, you know that I had a 6-month long bipolar manic episode. Some of the symptoms that I experienced as a result of that were talking very speedily. I describe it as like being a delusional auctioneer. If you could picture like an auctioneer, you know how they talk very fast, but I was a delusional auctioneer. So I would rattle off like 10 different topics in the span of a minute. And it scared a lot of people. A lot of people couldn't get a word in with me. That was one symptom. Another symptom was that I wasn't sleeping at all. I was not getting a minute of sleep. There was a period of time where I was awake for as long as 5 days. And, it was a very dark chapter of my life. That's some of the symptoms that I've experienced when I was, in the high stage. In the low stage, I experienced anhedonia, which is, not having interest in things you would typically enjoy or hobbies that you would typically derive enjoyment from. You don't anymore. Hey, Charlie, I'm doing okay. Just dealing with bipolar type 1 symptoms as normal. Man, I feel you. That's a day in the life of us dealing with that condition. We're a rare, how do I want to wear this? We're a rare breed, but we're also unique. We're rare in the sense that, statistically, I believe it's like 1% of the world has bipolar disorder. I'm not sure how the makeup is as far as what percent is bipolar 1 versus bipolar 2. I feel like that would be an interesting thing to look up. And then in the United States, it's a little higher. It's last I read it was like 2.8% in any given year. So it's quite rare. And those of us who have it, we have to demonstrate a lot of resilience. It takes a lot of persistence to live the day by day with this condition. But yeah, my heart goes out to you, man. Just keep fighting the good fight. Know that you're not alone. I'm right there with you. And if you ever need someone to talk to, I actually put my email in it's on my YouTube channel somewhere where I think it's the channel bio is where I put it. But there's some people who reach out to me on there and we have some interesting conversations. Swink says, were you ever self-aware what was happening? I feel like I'm aware of my symptoms, but unfortunately have no interest in dealing with them. Yeah, so I personally was not very aware during my manic episode. And from what I've read, a lot of people have their insight diminished. Hey, Diane, nice to have you here. Welcome. I'm currently answering Swink Swank's question of if I was self-aware of what was happening during mania. And the answer for me is no, I was not. Unfortunately, I wish that I was. But the illness really got the best of me. It affects discernment. It can affect your judgment. It affects your insight, your ability to discern reality versus what's not reality. And I experienced a lot of that. And that's what's really troubling about the condition is that there were people out there who tried to help me, who tried to tell me that my delusions were delusions, that a lot of the nonsensical beliefs I was disseminating were not grounded in reality. But I didn't have the insight to appreciate the legitimacy of what they were saying. And then another component I'll add, Swing, is, of course, apathy. But this is something that I feel more of. And I'm not sure if you feel the same way. Please let me know in the comments below if you'd like to. You don't have to. But I feel lots of apathy during depressive episodes. During depressive episodes, I'm kind of just dealing with the guilt and shame and fear that came along with the mania. Whereas, in the manic episodes, I'm just so overhyped. I can't direct my focus towards one thing. And so that's the characteristic of, my mania versus the characterization I would give for my depression. Depression, it's a lot of apathy. And then for mania, it's a lot of diminished insight. Diane says, oh God, yes. Sounds like you could relate a little bit, Diane. Just going to take a sip of water here. Kind of one of the reasons I'm doing these live streams is I feel like it's interesting to be able to interact in real time with people. So do get lots of questions on the channel, and it can be hard on challenging days where I'm not feeling the best upstairs, where my central command center isn't quite where it needs to be. I get the opportunity to react here in real time instead of, trying my best to respond to every comment, because I do have around, I think, 420 videos exactly, which is pretty funny to me. You know, shout out marijuana, right? I'm kidding. I actually try my best not to smoke. Every now and then I slip and do, but I think I have 420 videos. And I promise you that is not emblematic of me trying to, promote marijuana use or anything like that. But my point being, I digress. I get lots of comments on the videos, and it's very challenging to keep up with all of them. And sometimes YouTube will filter them into like different categories. And I won't notice a comment that was made until like months later, just because of the way the filtering system works. But I do my best to respond to them in a timely manner to the best degree that I possibly can. And that's the great thing with the live stream. Hey, Greg Smoot, G4U. Hi, sir. Hello, Greg. Welcome. I hope that you're having a marvelous day. And Swink says, interesting. I have had a weird relationship with weed for a while. I'm not sure if it helps or hurts sometimes. Yeah, it is a very interesting dynamic. I try to stray away from it just off the research that kind of suggests that it can induce mania or even trigger psychosis in some people. That's not the case with everyone, but I'm so terrified of the manic episode that transpired in myself, and I don't want to go in that direction again. So I try to limit the amount that I smoke or consume in general because, right, there's other options out there. There's edibles and there's pens, but I try to diminish what I smoke just based on those grounds. Is I don't want to induce another manic episode. I don't want to trigger psychosis, certainly, because the impacts of that are just so profoundly detrimental. And it's not something I want to go through again. Mania, I have one subscriber who described it, I think, really well. And she said something along the lines of mania is fun until it's not. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, or if you gals agree with that or not, but it just really struck a chord with me because it did feel like at the beginning that I kind of had like this illusion of productivity, and it felt like I was on top of the world. There was nothing beyond my grasp. Greg, you too. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. I'm curious, for those of you here who are subscribed to the channel, how did you find my channel? This is a question I've always wanted to ask my viewers, but I just haven't found the right, I guess, environment or place to do it in. And where better than here? How did you find my content? Like, what was the first video you saw, whether it was a video or a short? I feel like the star of my channel lately has been my cat Smokey, and that's okay. Charlie, how does 420 affect you as someone with BP1? I was told that it would be a terrible mix. I still drink alcohol and feel like I get drunker quicker than the normal person, and I feel low the next day. Yeah, so 420 for me, when I have, it's interesting because it really depends on what I'm smoking and how much I'm smoking, but also my environment affects it a great deal. Am I alone or am I with other people? When I'm with myself, I feel like it kind of puts me almost in like a more relaxed state. Whereas when I'm in a group of people, it almost makes me like more socially awkward in a way. And I come off as kind of aloof and distant. I've straight up had family members tell me, like, you're talking weird. And I'm like, okay, maybe I smoke too much. But, I used it most of the time when I'm like in a group of other people, but I'm trying to stray away from that. And I would say the environment is what results in like that discrepancy, the difference for me. I still drink alcohol and feel like I get drunker quicker than now. That's interesting. And I feel low the next day. So when I was consuming lots of alcohol during my mania, and it's because I got involved in Greek life on campus. I wasn't always a huge drinker, but alcoholism does run in my family, and I certainly had like a predisposition to drinking. Once I joined a college fraternity, I was in that environment, and that kind of brings us back to environment again. It's so important, where other people were drinking voluminous amounts of alcohol, and it kind of just encouraged, and that peer pressure led to me drinking alcohol as well. And when I say that I consumed a lot, I'm talking about like I went to class drunk at times. It was very sad. And I do wonder to this day to what extent, if at all, the alcohol actually triggered some of the mania. At a minimum, I know that the alcohol intensified my mania and intensified my symptoms because alcohol is not a healthy coping mechanism, or as my therapist would say, it's not a coping mechanism, but it is a behavior that some people use to try to deal with stressors that are affecting them. And it's something that I did while I was manic a lot, especially in the early months. I had a stop cannabis. I had a med cannabis card. Interest. Okay, Greg. Listen to your I love ganja. I listened to your longer video telling your story while driving. That was some time ago. I check in and watch a bit when I want to relate to someone. You're an excellent storyteller. Thank you, Swink. That means a lot. Wow, that's pretty cool. I never really thought about how people listen and consume content in different places. Some people, I've had someone comment before that they listen to my videos while they're doing dishes, which I think is great. I listen to podcasts sometimes, just wherever I am, when it's convenient. It's one of the great things we can do. You're an excellent. I appreciate you. That means a lot. Diane, I guess I look at a lot of self help mental health posts. Once you start, you get flooded with them. I think it was quite early on I first met you. One thing I suffer with is a shocking memory. Okay. A lot of help mental health posts start. Yeah, I get that. Definitely can relate there. I've had lots of so the content that I consume mental health wise is largely when I in the aftermath of my mania, it was like the bipolar subreddit. I don't know if anyone here frequents any subreddits at all, but I don't know. I feel like I'm one of the only ones in that I speak to who uses Reddit. Whenever I bring it up to people, some people tell me like, "Oh, what is that?" Or "You use Reddit, really?" Yes, I use Reddit. But bipolar subreddit, lots of great content on there, and it's not the only Reddit subreddit I follow, but in my early stages of coming out of mania in the aftermath, I was getting suggested a lot of posts from there, and I did read a lot of them, and I found it highly beneficial. That's when I came across. Thank you, Diane. Appreciate you sharing. Greg says I played football at UConn years ago. No way. Okay, got an athlete here. 45 years. 45 years now. Okay, that's amazing. I wish I was athletic enough, talented enough. Let me put the big thing. I wish I was hardworking enough when I was younger to have gotten to play a collegiate sport. That sounds like an amazing opportunity. Greg, how was that experience? Like you must have a lot of nostalgia around that. And do you still like follow football closely? Cat Lily, hey Cat Lily, welcome. Pleasure to have you here. Marijuana can cause more psychosis in people who have been psychotic and sometimes trigger psychosis in people with a predisposition towards psychosis. Yes, absolutely. And I was speaking to that a little bit earlier. I don't think I said exactly that, but we were speaking about psychosis and marijuana. And I talked about how I am very hesitant about marijuana use just because, from what I've read, it can induce mania. It can also trigger psychosis, which is not something that I want to go through ever again. It was truly a living nightmare. Well, welcome, Cat Lily. I'm glad to have you here. Thank you for all of you being here. Appreciate that a lot. So I kind of started these streams because, as you know, I have a lot of videos talking about bipolar disorder. And I just wanted to, kind of let the world know that there's more to me than just that. But also, I'm happy to talk about it because it is a part of me. I wouldn't say it's like my identity, but it is something that affects me on a daily basis. So I'm happy to talk about that and try to spread as much insight as I can, try to disseminate awareness and reduce stigma as much as I can. We got a few more comments here. Greg says, 5 straight starts on the defensive line. No, I don't follow football as much anymore. Yeah, that's okay. You have the lived experience of actually doing it, and not a lot of people can say that. And I think that's a testament to the hard work and perhaps even natural talent that you had when you were younger. I do believe it takes a little bit of both to succeed at like that kind of elite level. So, but good for you. That sounds like an enjoyable experience, and I wish I could have had something similar to that. Sneaky, hey man, hey Sneaky, how are you? I hope that you're having a wonderful day. By the way, I hope all of you are enjoying the holidays. I know this can be a dark, depressing time for many. I've certainly had my ups and downs, riding the ebbs and flows of this time period. Diane, I used to be unable to cope at all for many years without a joint. I stopped when I had a very horrible experience with extreme paranoia. Yeah, I've heard some other people say that too. The second part of your comment about having paranoid thoughts with marijuana. And I myself have experienced that to a limited degree. And I feel like I actually have that more when I'm around other people. I'm more relaxed when I'm by myself, but when I'm in an environment of other people, a social gathering or so forth, I start to feel a great deal of like anxiety and trepidation about what I'm saying. And I kind of get like racing thoughts, overthinking what I'm going to say. Not sure if you relate to that, Diane, but that's what your comment just reminded me of. And unable to cope for many years without a joint. And I also was smoking a lot during my manic episode. So it's not something that's lost on me. It's not something that was elusive to me. Unfortunately, I've had the experience of using alcohol and marijuana during mania. And I know without a doubt that neither of those things helped me in that state. Probably intensified the psychosis, maybe even caused it. Not too sure. Yeah, it's been pretty bad for me the holidays, Diane. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope the rest of your year goes better. And it is a challenging time, the holidays. I kind of struggle with it a lot in terms of like extended family. A detail I'll share with you guys is before COVID, my family had pretty large social gatherings. Like for Thanksgiving, we would have like as many as 100 people show up, and it was nice to be able to see everyone, see how everybody's doing, catch up, a social belonging, sense of peer approval. Those things are very important. They're some of the basic human desires that we have, and I say that even as an introvert. But after COVID, we kind of all went our separate ways, and we now have our own, like, I don't want to use the word factions, but I can't think of another word for that right now. But we have like our own factions within the family where this faction has their own Thanksgiving, this faction has their own, and this faction has their own. And as of late, Thanksgiving is just my mother and I. So, going from Thanksgiving with 100 plus people to just two, myself and my mom, I mean, it is what it is. Some people have nobody, and I understand that. I am grateful for what I have, but I do miss what I used to have as well. And I know it's okay to feel that way. At least according to the groups I've been going to, it's okay to feel that way. Social phobia. Absolutely, Diane. Greg, Tyler, I take a nap. I wake up feeling terrible. Do you ever have issues waking up with bipolar? Yes. I experienced a lot more of this recently when my school year started. Those of you who watch my channel know that I had a 4-year prolonged break from university. I've been referring to it as a medical break. Uh, Helps me look at things with a more positive perspective. But I returned to school and was kind of just thrust into things. And it kind of felt like being hit by a Mack truck because now I have this whole new routines, these whole new schedules, and adaptability hasn't always been my strong suit. But I did the best I could in dealing with that. And lately, my sleep has honestly kind of been all over the place. However, I've had 3 medication adjustments in the last month and a half, 2 of them as part of the partial hospitalization program that I've been attending. And so I think some of it is attributed to the medication changes I felt. But that's something I've read. A lot of people on the bipolar Reddit speak to this as well, is like bipolar medications can cause that side effect of exhaustion, fatigue, just feeling tired in general. And I can definitely relate to that. There's been plenty of days where I feel like I just can't get out of bed. I can't do this. And I sleep in for the day. And that's depression taking its toll and winning the battle. But I intend not to let it win the war. To me, I try not to nap now. That's something I got to work on, Diane. My naps are kind of like mini sleep sessions, is how I would refer to them as. So I know nap means different thing to different people. Some people say nap shouldn't be more than like 30 minutes or 20 minutes. Others think of like an hour. My naps kind of turn into mini sleep sessions, and I'm talking about multiple hours in a row. And as a result of that, it interferes with my sleep schedule. It serves as a detriment to having a consistent sleeping routine. Greg, it makes me crazy. Same here. Me without my sleep, I wouldn't, how do I want to say this? Let's just say that I'm not as productive as usual. I was about to describe myself in much more harsh terms, but I'm going to take it easy on myself, give myself a little bit of a pass here. Diane says, I've gone from about 30 people to 3 people now at Christmas. Yeah, it's challenging, Diane. It definitely is. And part of me has dealt with like these negative thought patterns that I've had concerning like thinking along the lines of, oh, well, maybe it's because they don't like me anymore. And I know that these aren't rational thoughts, but they are thoughts that I've had in the past. They're thoughts that have gotten better and improved with time for me personally, which I am grateful for. And I attribute a lot of that to probably my medications, but also CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and learning about the different strategies that are available to, cope and adapt to changes in life. And yeah, it's a tough thing to deal with in life. And I also feel a lot of like social isolation, at least lately. It's almost like loneliness in a way, I guess I would say. Aside from my YouTube subscribers, I wouldn't really say I have many friends. I have like my online social circles, which is something, and I don't downplay, that. Some people don't have anything at all. I'm grateful to have that. Hey, Greg. Yeah, much love to you. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you. Hope you have a marvelous day and hope the rest of the year goes strong for you. Godspeed to you, my friend. Catla, I really not because it messes up my sleep schedule also. Yeah, I'm trying to find that like right balance for me. Some people do better without napping at all. I'm not quite sure what is the ideal scenario for myself, at least not yet. But yeah, I'm working on it. I'm trying to reinforce positive habits and at the very least not allow my naps to like consume the bulk of my day because I was doing it a lot prior to going into this PHP program. And as I've learned about different, coping mechanisms and ways to reduce stressors other than that, I've kind of been allocating my time a little bit more diversely, I guess I would say. Diane, absolutely. Loneliness is a big thing for me, but then I don't want to see anyone. Yeah, it kind of is. It's kind of like both of those things can be true. They're not mutually exclusive. Like you can feel alone, but also not necessarily want to be around anyone either. And I think that you just mentioned depression makes you sleep. I think depression is also kind of a catalyst for that feeling, that ambivalent feeling of I don't want to be alone, but I also don't want to be around people because there's negatives of both. And we have to decide on a regular basis, do the pros outweigh the cons in this particular moment? And I feel like the key, at least for me, is just trying to find that correct balance. And it's a lot easier said than it is done. But through trial and error, and now I'm about to talk about my medications. I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but through trial and error, we eventually find that balance and we find what works best for ourselves. I'm just going to take another sip of water here. It's one crucial component to my weight loss plan and ultimately my weight loss journey is I've been drinking lots of water. Well, I'm not sure if it's a lot, if you consider this a lot, but this is 50 fluid ounces, and I'm drinking about 2 of these a day, or just a little bit under that each day. And I feel like it keeps me full better. I've been eating smaller portions. I've actually lost 7 pounds in a 13-day span. That was a couple days ago I weighed myself. So in a couple more weeks, I'm going to weigh myself again and what progress, if any at all, that I have made. But yeah, I think weight is another really kind of like taboo topic with bipolar. I went from being 180 pounds to a peak of 354. And I don't want to say it was because of medications. I think it was a combination of the side effects of medications along with the depression that I felt, regardless of whether or not I was taking medications. I feel like even without medications, I still would have put on a lot of weight, if that makes sense. But the medications I was on, since they have like light weight gain or moderate weight gain as a side effect, it kind of expedited the process a little bit. Not sure if how many videos I mentioned this in, but I actually do want to be a lawyer. It's I wasn't always sure what field of law I was interested in, but I know that I've always been interested in pursuing law. And the reason for that is I've always had a passion for expression of any form, whether it be, oratory, public speaking in a competitive format, in a presentation format, or if it even be, written down on a piece of paper, journaling or writing different exercises. My favorite classes in high school were AP US history and AP English language composition because it was very heavy concentrated on rhetoric. And I feel like my skill set would suit me well for representing people in the legal field. The legal field I want to go into, and this has definitely been influenced by my own mental health episode, is I want to get into social security disability law. Now, it's not particularly lucrative compared to other fields of law, but I feel like it would be very intrinsically rewarding to help other people with disabilities, whether they be physical, mental health disabilities, to get social security benefits to alleviate some of the stress that they feel. And I just feel like it's something I could be very passionate and committed towards if I'm stable and healthy, that is. Swing Small, congrats on the weight loss. Do you think the medication made you eat more or it just slows your metabolism heavily? I'm not sure about the second part, but it definitely resulted in me eating a lot more. I'm not sure what the direct cause of that behavior was, like the interaction of the medication in my body, but it is something that happened. And like I was never really one to count calories to begin with, but I definitely observed that I was consuming a lot more, and that combined with, moving a lot less is what contributed to the massive amounts of weight gain that I experienced. Diane, you are doing a good job switching from topic. Thank you. Topic to topic. I'm drinking more water too. Awesome. It does actually help so many parts of the body. I had to ask for weight neutral medication. That's interesting. I haven't really thought of that. I've had people like recommend different drugs to me before, like specific ones that they use, but I always forget the names of them because I mean, a lot of these drug names are so many syllables and they're hard to pronounce, at least they are for me. And, in the jest of conversation, it's difficult to capture that and commit it to memory long enough to my next psychiatry appointment to where I then go and say, hey, someone told me about this drug they've had success on. Could I potentially try it myself? But they've told me about like drugs that help them with different things, whether it be like alcohol use disorder, social anxiety, that have a lower probability of causing weight gain than others. And yeah, that's something interesting to look at. In the event that I'm not shedding pounds, if I reach a kind of obstacle, a barrier to losing more weight, then that is something I'm going to look at. Is I'm going to talk with my psychiatrist and see, what alternatives are there to the medications I'm taking? What medications are out there that have a lower probability of causing weight gain that I can take that still provide the same benefits? I appreciate you sharing that, Diane. And I'm glad you found medication that's helpful to you too. That in itself is an enormous challenge. It took me years to get to the medication regimen I'm on now. And I'm not sure if I've shared. No, I have. I have like commented briefly kind of like as a throwaway side comment in some videos about the medications I'm on. I will mention them just in case anyone's curious. I take every morning Wellbutrin, lamotrigine, Lexapro, and Vraylar. So I have a 4 medication cocktail, which is more than I expected I would have to take, but I do it because it makes me feel good. I feel like it reduces the chances of me going into mania again, something I never want to do again. It was you who told me about medication. Oh, okay, Diane. I did not know that. Yeah, it's something I've done. So I've attended bipolar support groups before, and this is a great resource for those of you who are trying to look for something that's online. I know in-person availability is kind of hard because, well, for one, I mean, a lot of these mental illnesses are kind of rare. Like bipolar disorder affects 1% of the globe. And in the United States, it's a little higher. It's like 2.8% in any given year. So it's hard to have like a bunch of in-person people who happen to be in the same community who suffer from the same condition to meet together. But there's online groups like that are hosted by DBSA, which is Depression Bipolar Support Alliance. They're free to go to. Most of them, I believe all of them are free. But I have seen some online groups that will like charge you a nominal fee, but don't join those ones. You shouldn't have to pay to get mental health peer support, in my opinion. And then there's also NAMI, which is National Alliance for Mental Illness. And I did actually just recently find a NAMI group for me to attend. I was attending a DBSA group, but unfortunately closed down. And I also missed the last meeting that group had. And so I feel a little bit regretful about that because, I got to know a lot of the people in this group pretty closely, even though they're online relationships. It was nice being able to catch up with people and share how my life is going, get caught up with what they're doing in their lives. And I found it very helpful personally. But I was able to find a new group, and the first group went well. It's a little bit larger than the GBSA group that I used to attend, but I'm okay with that. I feel like there's pros and cons to the large groups versus the smaller groups. So going back to law, I do have one major concern about going into law, and it's my bipolar disorder because I want to get into the legal field of representing people with disabilities, helping them get Social Security benefits. And who knows, I might have a caseload of 100 plus cases. And what if I were to suffer from a manic episode, amidst my representation of people? That genuinely terrifies me, is that my incompetence would result in the suffering of others. And that is one deterrent that has literally made me have thoughts of, well, maybe I'm just not suited to be a lawyer because of the illness that I have. So the goal I've set for myself is in this area, the thinking I'm kind of demonstrating now is I want to maintain stability for like a 5-year period, a straight 5-year period of stability. I mean, no mania, no hypomania, no significant depressive episodes like moderate or severe. So, light depression here and there is okay. I won't let that be the cutoff for the 5-year stability because that's going to happen here and there. There's going to be bumps in the road. But I want to see that I can actually go a decent amount of time without having these flare-ups in my symptoms. And that's why I think these medication adjustments I just went through are so crucial. I've had 3 in the past month and a half, which is a lot. And it's a little tricky. I don't know how many of you relate to this, but like my psychiatrist will ask me like, how is this medication helping you? I'm like, I don't know, because I had 3 changes at the same time. I don't know which one is, account for this and which one accounts for that. It's difficult to say. As far as law goes, I've even structured my undergrad studies around that ultimate goal. I'm majoring in communication, which is, yes, it's an easy major depending on who you are. It's actually a lot of writing. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. And not everyone's a strong writer. Not everyone's going to have a passion for writing as others do. But I've been able to develop that passion. And then I'm minoring in pre-law. And this is actually new. I'm minoring in pre-law just so that I could get an idea of the type of material I would encounter in law school later on. We got a few more comments. That's odd. I agree. You should space it out more to have better documentation. Swink, are you referring to like the medication changes, like giving more time for each one? I just want to make sure I'm understanding your comment right and that I don't misread. Diane, it's not a logical way to change meds one variable at a time. Yes. So I think you're both, if correct me if I'm wrong, Swink, but I think you're both kind of talking about, you and Diane are both talking about the same thing here is, yeah, one possible one at a time. Because as a patient, I feel, I kind of feel bad that I can't give more detail than I'm not sure to my medical provider. But I mean, what do you want me to do when we haven't even really given ample time for the first one to observe what side effects that's going to have, what benefits it's going to have? So anytime I feel a benefit, it's kind of like, well, which one did it? I have no idea. Or if I experience something negative, which one did it? Can we, maybe readjust that once again? Yeah, there was a time in my life when I would have been so ardently opposed to having three medication adjustments in, well, really in any length of time, but especially in a short span of time. But I guess in some sense, although I'm hopeful, I'm also desperate. I'm desperate to get things right, and I'm willing to, persevere and try, what the medical professionals are telling me and guiding me towards to see what works and what doesn't. And I know the trial and error is a crucial component of that. And it's just a part of the process, unfortunately. I mentioned earlier how I don't have much of like a IRL in real life social circle. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but I do have like an online social circle in a sense. I do play a lot of video games, not as much as I used to, but still probably a lot compared to other people. And some of the friendships I formed online are ones that I've had for 17 years. Like there's one person I play with online. His online name is Tesm. I played with him since 2008. There's another one, Burst. I played with him since 2008. And there's a few others too. But I don't know. It's pretty cool to me that I've been able to have these relationships for this long. And some of these people know me better than anyone I've ever met in real life, which I guess could be argued as a sad thing or depending on your perspective and how you view it. Was just going to say desperation is so hard. Yes, it is. It's like a total abyss of despair. It's so difficult to be in that stage where you're desperate because it's also in that stage of desperation where I feel like many people will start to surrender hope. Swing says, I need to hop off, but I want to say this was a great live. Communication as a major is a great choice for you. You're very talented and well spoken with minimal ums and likes. Keep it up. Thank you, Swink. I appreciate that. I like what I hope you have a great night, by the way. And I appreciate what you said at the end. My health teacher from high school would too. He was very big on presentations and he referred to saying ah, or using the word like, overusing the word like as credibility downers, which is probably a little bit more harsh than necessary, but it is something people notice when you're speaking. If I say like every other sentence, it's so he referred to them as credibility downers because it can be a distraction from the content of what you're saying. But it's such a natural thing. I'm not like personally bothered by other people doing it, but I do make a conscious effort to try and not do that myself, even if it involves simple something like taking a sip of water to avoid, you know. Cat Lily. Yeah, we have to be guinea pigs to find out what works for ourselves. Yeah, that is an interesting way to put it. I would have to agree. I mean, that is technically what's going on, right? Is we're being experimented on, but we're doing it in some cases because we're desperate, in many cases because we need it. But there's steps that we have to take in order to get where we want to be. in order to get where we want to go, to get on that positive trajectory. There's just things that we have to do. I'm trying to develop and build positive habits to try and assist my medication with what they're supposed to achieve. And one of the habits I'm trying to get into is reading. Another one is just drinking enough water. And then another one is exercising, specifically like cardio. And I feel like these things could all culminate and collectively be a huge boost and bolster the ability of my medications to have a positive impact. There's a quote I really like about exercise, and I've shared it with my current medical team, and they really like it too. And I don't know who said this, but it's an amazing quote. It goes, "If the effects of exercise could be prescribed in a bottle, it would be the most effective antidepressant in the world." There's something to ponder on. I don't know if it's true, if it would actually be the most effective antidepressant or not, but I think it does speak to how effective and how much of an aid exercise can actually be. Diane says, if we were all in your lounge room now, we would be so relaxed. I just feel that. Okay, Diane, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm trying to bring positive vibes here to the best extent that I can. I am an introverted person, but for some reason, I guess I feel comfortable in front of the camera. I don't know. I can't really speak as to why or delineate the reasons as to why that's the case. It's just one of my odd traits, I suppose. Not that I'm a super awkward person to talk to in person. I feel like I could hold a conversation a lot better today than in my past. And some of that might actually be due to YouTube. My YouTube journey has been quite interesting. The channel is currently at, I think, like 1,230 something subscribers. And the evolution of my channel is quite intriguing to me. I originally created this channel in amidst the pandemic, and I just needed something to do, but I also wanted a place to document memories that meant a lot to me. So in my early videos, you'll see things like skits, speeches, things of that nature, videos that I made in high school, videos about college, UMass in particular. And that content means a lot to me, but I've evolved over time. And after my manic episode, I had a period of time where I became a reaction channel. And I reacted to stand-up comedy videos, primarily George Carlin. I love George Carlin. I don't know who your favorite stand-up comedian is, if y'all like stand-up comedy as well, but I derive a lot of enjoyment from it. There's just so much joy that comes from, I feel like, from hearing a stand-up comedian, because in my mind, it's not just about comedy. At least with someone like George Carlin, they're almost like philosophers, the way that they approach it. And I like observing the way that they orate just as much as the actual content. And maybe that's a little bit nerdy of me, but it is what it is. I have a lot of George Carlin reaction videos, and you can tell in those videos, I feel like, because I have watched some of them in hindsight, I was not in that great of a place. But over the course of those videos, you could see me almost become happier in real time, even if it was just for a little bit. And interestingly, I have become introverted. I may have been before, but I would cover it up and just chatter, chatter, chatter. I think people thought I was extroverted. In the end, it gets too exhausting. Stand-up comedy. Is that a stand-up comedian, Diane? Bill Connolly for me? Yeah. I'll have to check him out. I'll write that down, actually. I'm always looking for new ones to react to. Well, I'm not doing like reaction videos anymore, but just like react to on my own time. And I'll let you know when I've actually watched. I just said, oh, damn. It's okay. Yeah, that is really interesting, Diane. Thank you for sharing that. We got a comment from Bucell. My psychiatrist is the head of research in University. I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but in the University of Stavanger in Norway, and he says that high intensity cardio 3 times a week is as effective as antidepressants. Okay, that's interesting. It can also increase gray matter. All right, that's huge. For those who might not know, and I didn't know this myself, is manic episodes from bipolar disorder can literally like destroy. I think me and Cat Lily talked about this once, but it can actually like have cause like some degree of brain damage. It can like reduce the amount of gray matter in your brain. Like they've done actual scans of people before and after manic episodes, and there's literally like less brain activity in the aftermath. There's less gray matter in the brain, which is concerning. So to know that exercise can be empowering in that way, that exercise can actually increase your gray matter, that's huge. That's absolutely huge. Then Billy swears a lot. It's okay to say thank you. I appreciate that. I am very conscious of the words I use and the language rhetoric that I use. So to hear someone else say that it's okay, you'd be surprised how much that actually means. It alleviates a great deal of my stress in the moment. I wonder how many of you have heard of this book, but this is one I had a lot of people recommend to me, and I've only read the first few chapters. Some of them are very short, they're only like 3 pages long, but it's called Atomic Habits. And I'm using this, by the way, I'm not being like promoted to, advertise this book or anything. I promise you, this is not an advertisement. It's just something that I'm enjoying myself. I'm wondering if anyone else has read it. Well, definitely other people, but like other people in the audience, anyhow. So that's the book that I'm currently working on, and I have a bunch more planned that are scattered around my table. Not exactly super organized. I'm not going to show you that, but I guess I did just kind of let you know. So, yep, that's one of the books that I'm working on getting through. My plans for 2026, as far as the YouTube channel goes, I want to do these live streams. I don't want to say, yeah, like as much as possible, but within reason. It's not going to be like a daily thing, but I'm looking at like 4 live streams a month possibly. And, depending on if there's interest for it, then I might increase that and do a little bit more. But I enjoyed my first live stream a lot, even though it was just 40 minutes. I loved chatting with you all, and I feel like it's better social connection than, I mean, the ideal social connection is in person, I feel like, but it's a little bit better than just, the one-way interactions where we comment and then we wait for a comment response and then wait for another comment response if another one even comes. Whereas with this, we're kind of reacting to each other more in real time, it feels like. And I'll probably order it now. It's good to share good books. I agree. And if anyone here has any good books, Diane, if you have any good books that you would suggest, I'm all ears. I do need more. I only have one, two. Well, this is probably more than most people have, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 books lined up to read once I'm finished with Atomic Habits. I am also going to upload probably a similar amount that I did this year, but I want it to be more consistent. My posting was very sporadic this year. So there were periods of time where I would go, I feel like weeks, maybe even a month or months without posting anything. I feel like it's a reasonable goal to aim for like 100 videos, maybe a little more than that, depending on how I'm feeling and where I'm at, and if I even have the ideas to discuss something that I feel like is worthwhile or beneficial to you all or anyone. But I posted about 100 something this year. I posted 100 something the year before, and I just kind of want to continue that streak because it's what I feel comfortable doing, and it's just enough to satisfy my. So I kind of use YouTube in addition to wanting to spread insights about bipolar disorder and hopefully leave a positive impact on people, is I want to cope with what I deal with, and being able to vent and share my lived experiences and stories with you all. It means the world to me. And everyone's so kind and accepting and understanding, which is kind of surprising. Not because of any of you, but surprising that online that's the case. I would say 99% of the comments are positive. Every now and then there will be a troll who will say something along the lines of like, "Oh, so you're crazy." And it's like, "Okay, appreciate you." Diane says, "Yeah, but we understand how it is. It's like that for us too." I hope I can say that. You absolutely can say that. Buso, your channel is really good. I love your content. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. In the beginning of my channel, I actually did edit videos, which may surprise people. There will probably be more trolls. Be prepared. Oh, I know. There certainly will be. And I'm not really a big censorship guy as long as these people are not like attacking, some of my other viewers or being hostile, antagonistic towards other viewers. I could deal with an avalanche of things thrown at me as long as I'm not in a terrible state myself. I'm not the type of person that really remove comments. In a way, I feel like it contributes to the dialogue to know that there are people like that out there who are going to say negative things. And it is what it is. It's something that we have to deal with. It's a reality that we're going to encounter throughout our lives. But I don't dwell on it. And this is a piece of news I want to share with you all that I'm really excited to share with you all. So for those of you who are still on the stream now, there is a news article that got published today in the medical journal Stat News, which is owned by Boston Globe. And in it, they actually talk about my bipolar manic episode and the digital footprint that it left behind. So it looks at my bipolar manic episode through the lens of social media. And I believe that I put the link to that news article about my bipolar manic episode in the description to this live, but I can't actually see that right now based off what my screen is currently showing me. But if it's not there, if someone could let me know, I'd appreciate that. I'll make a post later on too, just to let people know that the article is out there. Wow, you're famous. Yeah, some people in group were telling me that, now that you're famous, remember us. And I wouldn't say famous, but it does feel good to be able to get my story out there on a scale like that. And I'm very hopeful and optimistic that others will draw insight and maybe it could help reduce stigma and most importantly, bring awareness to the illness that is bipolar disorder. Stat News is there. All right. Thank you, Diane. I appreciate you checking that. Got a little bit nervous for a second. I'm saying, look at the description for this news article and it might not even be there. I genuinely couldn't remember if I put it there or not. So glad that I did. And thank you for checking. Whew. Need a little sip of water. One thing I've done a lot of, more notably during my depressive episode, is standards of comparison. Once I got out of mania, I felt a lot of embarrassment, shame, and guilt. And I would go on, websites like LinkedIn, where people talk about their careers and are posting all these success stories. And I would see that all my friends from college are doing all these amazing things. And I would go on Facebook and see that my former high school friends are starting families, getting married, buying houses. And here I am, mid 20 something year old, 27 now, about to be 28 on the 24th. And I don't have any of that. I don't have a wife. I don't have a car. I don't have a house. And it's just that feeling that like I'm behind. But I have to tell myself, instead of being hard on myself, I have to tell myself that we all follow our own timeline. Just because somebody else is getting a house at that age, it doesn't mean I have to. It doesn't mean that having a house of my own is a goal that is now off limits because I didn't do it in time. Or there's a story of someone who goes to my college or went to my college who just graduated with a nursing degree in her 70s. So it's not too late. And I do genuinely believe that is the case in a lot of instances. But those are feelings that I've had a lot during my depressive episode. is feeling like I'm behind. But people deal with different circumstances. It's a lot different when you're dealing with a mental illness that affects such a low percentage of the world. It's a lot different if you come from a background of poverty, because income stability can be a huge contributing factor to these things and how they're handled as well. Bucell says, I'm 27. Oh, okay. I didn't know you were 27 too. 27, and I can relate a lot. Yeah. Diane says, my son is 32. He doesn't have a wife or house. Nah, you are not behind. Thank you. I need to hear that sometimes. Sometimes there's just things we need to hear, and that's something I needed to hear. And I don't really look at success in terms of, I try my best to not look at it in terms of just like material things. Like success for me, one of my long-term goals is I want to compete in Toastmasters, international speech competition, and I want to see how far I can go. And, as a ambitious goal, I would love to win the international speaking contest. That would be pretty dope, right? That's not a material goal. There's not like a monetary financial award that comes with it, but it's something that would feel rewarding, and it would be a testament to my work ethic. And it would kind of be, this pinnacle point, all the experiences of my life leading to that moment, having that passion for public speaking from such a young age and harnessing it and cultivating that skill and trying to perfect my craft and getting to that point. So, goals and success they're defined differently by different people. And for me, it's not all about material things. It's just hard sometimes to go on social media and see you're only getting a glimpse of that person's reality too, because people want to post like the highlights of their life. It's very rare for someone to go on social media and be like, I'm real happy to report I just lost my house, or I just got in a car crash and I don't have a car now and I'm going to lose my job. People are more likely to post about, I feel like, the positive things that are going on in their lives, whether it be, I don't want to say the word flex, but to showcase that they're doing well, let others know they're doing okay. But I feel like I'm in a good position now. I think the medication adjustments are working. They're improving my mental health. They're helping me upstairs become better. And that's all I can ask for, really. Diane, I'm a potter. Potters don't post all the failures before they get a good pot. Yeah, it's a great example. Thank you for sharing that. How long have you been doing that, Diane? Just curious. If you don't mind sharing, you don't have to if you don't want to. I do gotta concede. Today, my streak of 10,000 steps or more, I did not reach it. I could still reach it. It's not too late. I could still go out and do that. But I didn't reach it today. I actually went outside after I got home from my program, partial hospital program, and I almost slipped twice on my way just across the street to the store to get something for myself and my mom. And so I was kind of like mentally, I'm like, yeah, I am not walking all the way to the gym and potentially slipping on ice and banging my head. No, thank you. 40 years. Wow. Now that is some serious diligence and commitment to have 40 years of experience in anything. You must be really good, Diane. Do you feel like you had a natural talent for this from the beginning? Or would you say that you gotten like better with time and your skill has evolved and just improved? I always like asking people this question of, whether it be like an artist who's extremely exceptional at drawing, were they like natural at it, or did they learn it through hard work? And I always get mixed answers from people. So there's people on both sides. People are really everywhere on the issue. But I'm just grateful of how far I've come compared to where I was. If you look at some of the videos I posted in my bipolar breakdown, my very first one was, I was diagnosed with bipolar X amount of days ago, my life since. And in that video, at least I can sense the depression. I can feel it like flying off of the screen. And looking at those moments and comparing them to where I am now in my more recent videos, I'm a lot more upbeat. Not that I was like a negative person in my earlier videos, but you can tell I'm now on a positive trajectory. Diane says, no talent, just practice and practice and practice. I will say I am quite good now. Awesome. You can say that now. It's good to hear. That's the answer. I know people have different answers to that question of talent or like practice. I always love hearing people say practice because it feels good to know that like this is something I could do if I just practice and apply myself. When people say like, "Oh, it's all talent," I just, I emerged from the womb dunking the basketball, and if you didn't do the same, then you're never going to be able to do it. Whereas if someone says, "I worked hard and I spent years and years jumping and increasing the height of each jump, and eventually I was able to dunk the ball." I like those answers a lot better. So thank you for sharing that, Diane. For those who might not know, I am actually taking spring semester off from college. I returned to college. I had a 4-year prolonged absence due to medical leave. And I went back this semester. And I could say there were some positives from it. I did earn credits. I'm closer to my degree. If I get my degree, it will be a major in communication with a minor in pre-law. Excuse me. Not if I get my degree. I will get my degree. But the point being, I made progress towards it. And even though the semester wasn't perfect, I feel like I derived a lot of benefit from it. And it was an excellent learning experience. I am taking next spring semester off. A big reason for this is I want to get this weight off. I know I can do it, but I need the time to do it. And I need to devote the energy necessary in order to achieve that goal. Cat Lily, I have been drawing since I was 3. Oh, wow. It definitely takes practice more than talent. Yeah, I can see that. If someone's practicing a skill especially at that young of an age, then they're going to be quite competent at it as they get older. I don't know if this translates to other things as well, but I know I've always heard people say the best time to learn a language or the most efficient time to learn a language is when you're younger, when your brain is still like the most spongiest. I don't know if that's even a word, probably not. But when your brain is the most flexible as you're developing. And maybe that goes for other skills as well, not just learning language. Could be. For anyone just joining in, I just want to share. I have already shared this at least once over the course of this live stream, but there's an article about my story battling bipolar mania in Stat News in the description. Definitely recommend you check it out. I think it's an excellent, insightful piece, and it talks about the digital footprint that's left when dealing with bipolar mania. Because we are living in a new age. Experiencing a bipolar manic episode in 2025, I imagine, is a lot different than, say, someone experiencing it pre-internet. Not to diminish or say that their episodes were any less severe. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there's definitely a greater opportunity, I feel like, to embarrass yourself or bring shame and guilt to yourself today with the presence of social media and the omnipotence of it. Diane says, absolute natural talent is rare. I agree. And yes, I have heard that about language too. Yep. Yeah, I've heard that for a long time, that the younger you are, the more efficiently you'll learn language. I feel like I covered a decent amount of topics in this. I went a little bit longer than last time. I do want to get outside and get some exercise in because I haven't hit my 10,000 step goal. I'm pretty sure I'm decently close. I don't have my phone next to me, but I want to make sure I hit that goal before I go to bed tonight. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you marvelous legends have a strong close to the year. I do have another live stream coming up on the 24th, which is my birthday. I'll be turning 28 years I'm going to say 28 years young. Schism says, I'll just read these last few comments before I go. Your clear lack of mental health is apparent. Back in the day, you'd be locked up and thrown away forever if they even thought you had a mental illness. Yeah, mental illness has been treated differently in different time periods. There were insane asylums. There were mental health advocates from a very early time who had to ardently speak against the really human rights abuses that mentally ill people have suffered. And it's a great shame that that happened. And I think we still have a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of progress to be made in the field of mental health and everyone taking it more seriously, actually. But thank you all, Diane. Appreciate each and every one of you. Love, light, and tranquility to all.